What's up, suckers? It's me. I'm back. And before we get into today's app review, I wanted to talk a little bit about some very important news. So, first off, I am offering classes now, live classes, where we can work together on different things that tend to be a huge issue for those of us with ADHD. On the 28th, I'm going to be doing one called Reclaim Your Time, where we're going to go over time management, all of the things that you might need to help you build a time management routine so that you're not feeling quite as out of control as you aren't. You actually are in control. It may not feel like you are, but you are, and that's what this class is here to show you. And then on top of that, after that, rather, in July, I am also going to be running a class, rather more of an accountability group, where I am going to be helping people build their habits and routines and keep to them by the end of July. That's going to be happening starting on the 5th. The 5th is a Wednesday, and then after that, it'll be every Tuesday evening all throughout July. It's going to be a great time. I'm going to be there to give you tips, tricks, and to help you get that routine where it needs to be so that you can keep going with it even after we've stopped meeting. The links for both of those things are in the description of the video or podcast if you're listening to this as a podcast. And I would love to see you there. Second off, I have a huge event coming up in September called Chase the Chaos. It is a digital summit for multi-passionate women. You do not have to be ADHD, but there is a lot of overlap between ADHDers and people who are multi-passionate, who love to do a lot of things. We're going to have 12 speakers over 2 days. Like I said, the whole thing's virtual, and you're going to be able to hear how to do things like balance what you love with the things that you have to do without giving up the things that you love. We're going to be talking about why shiny object syndrome is bullshit. We're going to be talking about how to be brave as you try out different things that you might have interest in. It's going to be an amazing time. It is something I strongly believe in. And right now, early bird tickets are on sale. You can find the link for that in the description as well. So please, please, please make sure you check that out. And with that, let's get on to the video. So, obviously, to start this off, just as a reminder, if this is your kind of thing, if you are all about learning about ADHD, how to manage ADHD from an ADHD coach with ADHD, how many times did I just say ADHD in that sentence? You are going to want to like and subscribe because that is what this channel is all about. And if not, I don't know how you found me. I'm sorry. Someone probably gave you this link as a joke. Find new friends. Anyway, today we're talking about one of my favorite things, which is apps. This one found me. It is the Brite app. And shortly after I did the Amazing Marvin video, the people who I'm actually not entirely certain whether this person was a part of customer success or a person who is in charge at Brite. I think it was the second option, the latter. They reached out to me and asked me to mess with Brite for a while and then to write a review and do a video review on the app. And I was happy to do so because even if I hated it, I was willing to do it just because I love playing with apps and playing with technology. And I played with Brite, and I'm very excited to tell you guys what I have learned. So let's get into it, first off, with what Brite actually is. So the weird thing is there isn't a lot on Brite's website about where the idea came from. This isn't a new thing, honestly. Motion didn't have much on their website either. But what I can tell you from messing with it is that Brite is a to-do app, a task management app that aims to be much more than that. It wants to be pretty much everything that you are going to need to run your day. You can run it on your computer or on your cell phone, and it wants you to be able to run your projects, your tasks, your ideas, your random countdowns, things like that, all in one app. It is not specifically an ADHD app. However, it is extremely ADHD friendly, and it looks like it was written or made rather with us in mind, because when you first are signing up and setting up to use Brite, it will ask you why you're using the app, and one of the reasons that it will give is I have ADHD. What did I love about Brite? Honestly, there was a ton to love about Brite. I have actually been using it now for the past month, and I have found that I am using it every day without having to be reminded. I really don't have to use it anymore. I've finished doing my reviews. I finished working with it, but I continue to use it because it has so many aspects that have to do with my everyday. There has so many things going on with it that I actually need that I can't stop myself from using it every day. It continues to be relevant with all that it offers. It makes it incredibly easy to run your day all from one dashboard. It integrates with your Google Calendar, your iCal, and then what you're able to do is just keep track of the things that you already have going, plus the tasks that you have to add as you go. It gives you lists for personal and work tasks, splits them up so that you're able to get a good look at what needs to be done versus what you'd like to be done. And it also makes sure that you are keeping your personal needs in mind when you're planning out your day. It's got a pretty decent habit tracker. I wasn't a huge fan at first, but at some point while I was using it, they did make it so that it is more customizable. When I first started using Brite, there actually were 80 plus or so popular habits already pre-populated, but it didn't give me the option to add my own habits. However, now you can do that, which makes it so that you are able to keep track of how you are doing with those habits. And it is done in a completely non-shaming way. One thing that I have tended to have a problem with when I have worked with habit trackers in the past is that it's kind of a shitty feeling when you have been sick for a week, or you've been depressed or busy or whatever, and you come back and you see that your entire streak has just gone. I was using Duolingo for a while that way, and then I got COVID and came back, and I just completely lost my whole streak. In fact, side rant, really short, but you knew what this was. Hey, anybody out there who is making apps, please have an option to put things on pause when you're sick or on vacation. Todoist has something like this, which I very much appreciate, but it should be something that is widespread and allowed, because we get sick, we go on vacation, and it really just is kind of demoralizing to look at what you were doing and to see that you have gone from, 50 days of doing something every day to 0 simply because you caught the flu. Okay, it's kind of bullshit. Anyway, so Brite, like I said, does not do this. Brite actually just gives you a percentage, and it does give you your longest day streak, but it is in a way that is easily digestible, and it doesn't make you feel shitty if you happen to miss a day. In fact, it more gamifies it so that you're like, oh, I wonder if I can up my percentage at all. It's pretty great. There's also just a host of different extras and options that you have to help you out with your day. There's measurements, there's timers, there's soothing sounds you can add, there's countdowns, which can be amazing from a productivity standpoint because then you can keep track of deadlines for important projects, but it's also great just from a personal standpoint because there's nothing that's more fun than, keeping track of when you've got that vacation coming up or when you've got like friends visiting, and it's always there on the side of your dashboard if you'd like to keep track of what it is that you're doing, which is great. I'm also a massive fan of how much attention is paid to mental health in Brite. You have meditations, a couple very simple guided meditations. I don't really use the meditations. I use a separate app called Headspace, but it's cool to have there just in case, you realize that you haven't meditated that day. It has diary entries with some actually really thought-provoking writing prompts to help you kind of work through your day, and you can do it right there in-app. And their blog actually has a ton of articles, not just about productivity, but also about mental health awareness. So it's not just trying to push you to be productive, it's also trying to push you to be productive according to your own energy and mental health, which is a huge, huge deal to me, obviously, if you've been here for any amount of time. And despite all of this, the reason why I feel Brite edges out something like Amazing Marvin, where you can kind of build what you are hoping to look at every day, is that with Amazing Marvin, you have to build that control center from the ground up, which can be amazing in some cases. But for some, I even saw comments on my Amazing Marvin video about this, it can feel super overwhelming. Like, how are you supposed to decide what to build each day? And then if you decide that your views have changed, you have to change everything. Whereas Brite already has some things just set in stone for you. Those private tasks and work task lists are automatically there. Your calendar is automatically there. And then you can just kind of build on from there, decide on colors, decide on tags, but you don't actually have to freak out about adding everything at once, so it doesn't feel overwhelming. And it's also quite brilliant because as you are adding in tasks, it will prompt you to add difficulty and priority, which are two things that a lot of ADHDers need to take into account when they are trying to put together their day's to-do list. So overall, lots to love about Brite. But because I always like to give both sides, let's talk about what there is to be improved. So I want to make it very clear, Brite is still in its infancy. So there are a lot of things that need to be adjusted, but that could very well be fixed in the future if they listen to the feedback that they're getting on the app, which they seem to be doing. However, at the time of this video, these are the things that I saw that were kind of a little bit of an issue. The first being that the functionality between the mobile app and the web app were not equal. The phone app works beautifully. I have absolutely no problem putting things in, getting it to work. It works 100% of the time perfectly. However, whenever I would use it on my computer in the web app, it just wasn't the same. Every once in a while, I just ran into some really weird glitches and issues. For example, the countdown timer wouldn't automatically update when I would log in. And that may not seem like much of an issue, and for me, it really wasn't. But if you are using that countdown to keep track of deadlines, there is nothing worse than realizing that that countdown timer has been stuck at 14 days for the last 9 days, and then refreshing and finding out that you've only actually got 5 days left. So that is kind of frustrating, and hopefully that's going to be fixed. Even yesterday, as I was updating things, I logged in through the web for the first time in a while, and when I did that, it stayed on the day that I last logged in and would not, no matter how many times I refreshed the page, update to the current day. I had to do it manually. So the web app is just not as functional as the phone app. And kind of as an aside, as a small piggybacking off of that, there also at this time is not a desktop app, which I think is very important. However, I did check their website roadmap. They are working on that. So eventually that'll be a moot point to complain about. But at this particular point, that is not available. And secondly, I did mention earlier that the simplicity of the app, the lack of overwhelm is beautiful, but it does have a double-edged sword thing to it in that I do feel like it could use a little bit more customization. For example, I decided at one point that it was great to have a private tasks and a work task list on my front page, but what I could also really use was a self-care list. Just things that I could hope to do if I really needed to take care of myself. And it was not possible to add a personal list to that front page. The front page is very customizable, but it's only customizable with things that are already preloaded into the app. So you don't make new lists. You can't add much more outside of the already pre-made widgets. Thirdly, Brite does boast certain features that could be helpful in teams. You can actually make separate workspaces. There is the ability to attach documents to tasks. You can definitely keep track of projects. But I personally do not believe that Brite is great for anything more than small teams. And I also just don't see it being particularly helpful, mainly because you're not going to be able to have project analytics. You're not going to be able to see the statuses of each stage of the project. It just really isn't a large teams app. It can be great for smaller teams, I'd say, but if you are working with a large group of people, it's just not really going to be able to handle what you need in that case. It's not robust enough. I have to say that Brite is actually my new favorite ADHD-friendly app, and I did not think that I was going to say this. I thought that Amazing Marvin was the best that you could get. It is certainly still amazing, but I have to say that when we are talking about managing your day, managing your tasks, managing your to-dos, I have yet to find an app better than Brite. I think that it is an incredible suite of different widgets and different things to help you run your day-to-day life. And of course, there are things that I have to use other apps for, but there are no apps that are going to handle 100% of what you need all day, every day perfectly. However, from day-to-day life, for everything that I need, including my work, my job, I have found no better app. So I sincerely think that this is one that everybody should check into. Obviously, the link for that is in the description. I really can't speak highly enough of this app. Brite is available on Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, pretty much all the big ones. You're able to use it on your computer and on your phone. There is a limited free plan, but the premium plan is so reasonable cost-wise that I really don't see the point in not upgrading if you can. You're looking at only about $4.50 monthly or $15.29 if you decide to pay for the year. And finally, who should use Brite? In my opinion, pretty much anybody who is really looking for something that is going to help them manage their day-to-day and their work, who does not need big time management help or big hand-holding in the way of project management. You are going to find a place with Brite. So that would be busy parents, solopreneurs, people with very small teams. It doesn't matter whether you are at your desk all day or not, because this will work either way. This is also fantastic for students because of how economical it is. And the fact that you can keep track of pretty much everything that you're going to need in terms of classes through this very app. I would not suggest it for people who are on large teams, people who need a lot of hand-holding when it comes to time management, or people who feel that they need a very robust project management suite. And there you go. There is my review of Brite. If you guys decide to try it, please let me know what you think. The links for everything, including my Reclaim Your Time class and my routine and habit building class, are in the description. I look forward to telling you guys a little bit more about Chase the Chaos as we go, but if you want to get your ticket, now is the time because the price goes up later on this summer. Thank you very much for watching this video. Drink plenty of water, and I will see you in the next video or in the next podcast.